So whenever we purchase goods from a foreign country, that kind of a trade is called as the import trade. The importer can take delivery of the goods and then after paying the necessary freight charges to the shipping company. Whenever goods are to be exported to a foreign nation, such goods are not subjected to sales tax. Hello everyone, I am Purnima, faculty in the Department of Commerce, Vidhyaashram Pre-University College, Temple of Excellence, Mysuru. I welcome you all to this session. So in this session, we will be having a discussion on the import procedure. So we all know that what is imports? Imports is nothing but purchasing the goods from a foreign country. So we'll just look into what is the procedure relating to the imports. So let us have a look here. So the import procedure, import trade refers to the purchase of goods from a foreign country. So whenever we purchase goods from a foreign country, that kind of a trade is called as the import trade. It differs from one country to another depending upon the country's import and custom policies and other statutory requirements. So the import procedure will differ from one country to another. So the import policy of India will not be the same as the import policy of Sri Lanka or Pakistan or America, etc. So each country will have its own import policy and it will have its own customs, policies and other statutory requirements. So the following paragraphs discuss various steps involved. So we will just have a look at what are the various steps involved in the import procedure. Now, in this import procedure, the first step is the trade enquiry. Now, what is this trade enquiry? So, whenever we have to get imports, so whenever the manufacturer wants to have an import of raw materials, suppose he needs raw materials for his manufacture, then he will have to see which are the countries which are engaged in export of such products. So, he has to look up to the various exporters who will be exporting such products and then he will be making an enquiry with all those countries. So, which are engaged in export of such material. So, he will send a communication relating to the enquiry of such products. So, what is the kind of product he needs? What is the quality of the product he needs? And what is the quantity he needs? What is the mode of shipment? What will be the mode of payment? What are the terms and conditions of this import business? So all this he will be asking for an enquiry from the various exporters of various countries. Then after receiving the reply from all these exporters, he will pick up the best one. So which one is favorable to him? So he will just pick it up. Now in this trade enquiry, the exporter, when he receives an enquiry from the importer, he will prepare a document called as the pro forma invoice. Now what is this pro forma invoice? So this pro forma invoice contains details about all the goods, whatever they are proposing to sell. So it will contain details about the quality, quantity, the kind of package they will do, what are the terms and conditions, and by how many days the goods will be ready. All these matters relating to the product that will be included in the pro forma invoice, or we can say that a pro forma invoice is a document relating to the goods which are to be sold. So whatever goods are to be sold, there will be a description of the goods in the pro forma invoice. Then the next step in the import procedure is procurement of import license. Now we should know that almost all the countries we cannot have free imports. So there will be certain restrictions on the imports by all the countries. So they try to encourage exports, but imports there will be lot of restrictions. So in order to have this import business, the first thing, especially in India, we need to have a license to get the goods. So whenever we are importing goods from other countries, we should get an import license. Now, before we get an import license, so whether it is an exporter or an importer, he should get himself registered under the Directorate General of Foreign Trade, that is DGFT. So he should be a registered member of this DGFT, that is the Directorate General of Foreign Trade, and then later on he can apply for the import license. So once he gets the import license, he can always import the goods from the foreign countries. Then he will have to collect his import-export code. So IEC code, whatever it is called. So that IEC code will help him to just go ahead with the import of the goods. The third step in the import procedure is obtaining foreign exchange. Now, this foreign exchange is a very important aspect of the international business. So, whether it is the exporter or the importer, the both have to be paid in their own currency, because the purchaser belongs to a different country and the buyer belongs to a different country. Now, when the importer is importing the goods from a different country, the exporter expects to be paid in his own currency. Now, in India, there are a lot of regulations for payment of the foreign exchange. The first thing is the importer has to get the sanction from the Exchange Control Department of the RBI. Now, he has to make an application to this Exchange Control Department of the RBI along with the relevant documents, along with this application in the prescribed format, he has to submit the import-export license number and also all other important documents. Now, if the RBI is fully satisfied with his application, then they may sanction the foreign exchange. Now, the fourth step in the import procedure is placing an order or indent. So, this becomes very, very important. So, once the importer has got the import license and then he has got sanction from the RBI, the next step is placing the order or indent. So, the importer will place the order or indent to the exporter in the prescribed form. In this order, he will be mentioning about what is the type of goods he is asking for and what is the quality of goods, what is the quantity of goods, what is the date of dispatch within which the goods should reach him, and also the ports of destination, and also he will also be telling about the terms and conditions of payment and also how the packing of the goods has to be done. So, in his order, he will be mentioning all the details relating to the order, execution of the order. So, in this way, the importer will place an order with the exporter. Next, in the next procedure, we see that obtaining the letter of credit, or we call it as the LOC. So, this letter of credit plays a very important role in any international business. So, whether it is the exporter or the importer, they have to secure the letter of credit from the importer's bank. Now, the exporter will not directly send the goods to the importer. So, unless and until he secures the letter of credit from the importer's bank, he will not send the goods. Now, what is this letter of credit? So, letter of credit is a guarantee issued by the importer's bank to the exporter's bank, stating that it will guarantee the payment of the import of goods. So, whatever is the money involved in the import of goods, the importer's bank is undertaking to pay a certain amount of money relating to that particular imports. So, in this way, the exporter will be assured of his payment. Why? Because the exporter does not know the importer and both of them are ignorant of the rules of their particular countries, and as such the trade has to take place, and in order to see that the trade has to take place, the exporter has to ensure that he receives the money for his shipment. So, this is one kind of arrangement where the importer's bank undertakes to make the payment for the imports. So, in this way, the exporter is assured that he will receive the payment on the goods. Even if the importer fails to pay the goods, his bank will pay for the export of the goods. Then the next procedure in import is arranging for finance. Now, what is this arranging for finance? So, as soon as the importer places an order with the exporter, he should make all arrangements for payment of finance to the exporter. Why? The payment of finance is very necessary, because as and when the goods reach the port of destination or when it reaches the importer's country, so immediately he has to make payment for the goods, otherwise penalties imposed on such lapses in payment. So, it is necessary for the importer to make necessary arrangement of finance for the payment of the imports. Then, next step in the import procedure is receipt of shipment advice. Now, after loading the goods on board the ship, the exporter will send this shipment advice. Now, in this shipment advice, it will contain the invoice number of the bill, then the bill of lading, then the airways bill, then it will also contain details relating to the name of the ship in which the goods will be which are boarded, and then it will also contain the various ports of destination and also the date on which the goods have been loaded on the ship. So, all these details will be in the shipment advice. The next procedure is the retirement of the import documents. Now, once the goods are loaded on board the ship, the exporter will prepare all the set of documents which are necessary to be handed over to the importer. Now, what are the important documents? It will be relating to the bill of exchange, then it will also have the bill of lading, the airways bill, then it will also have details relating to the goods which have been shipped to the importer. Now, this bill of exchange is a document which will be prepared stating that the importer has to pay a certain amount of money to the banker. So, this exporter, he will prepare all these documents including the letter of credit and hand it over to his banker. Now, this banker, he will transmit all these documents to the banker of the importer. Now, once the importer gets all these documents, he can, after making the payment, he can just get the documents. Now, in case of the bill of exchange which is drawn by the exporter, the bill of exchange can be a side draft or it can be a usance draft. Now, the side draft is a draft based on which as soon as the importer sees the draft, he has to make the payment. Now, in case of a usance draft, the importer need not pay the money. He can just accept the bill of exchange and then he can later on make the payment for the import of goods. Now, once this bill of exchange has been presented to the importer, the banker will then hand over all the documents to the importer and the importer will collect all the documents. If it is a side draft, he will make the payment and then take the documents, and if it is a usance draft, he will accept the bill of exchange and then take custody of the documents, and once he has the documents, so that is called as retirement of the import documents. So, this act of the banker handing over all the documents relating to the imports to the importer is called as retirement of the import documents. So, once the documents are handed over to the importer, he can always go and claim the custody of goods from the port. The next step in the export of goods is arrival of goods. Now, whenever the exporter has loaded the goods on board the ship, the carrier or the officer in charge of the ship, he will be in charge of the goods which are unload the ship, and then this officer, whenever he is reaching the port of the importer's destination, he will hand over a document called as the Import General Manifest. he will give this document to the officer in charge in the dock. So whoever is the dock authorities or the port trust, whoever is the officer there, he will give him the import general manifest, and in this import general manifest it will be mentioned about what kind of goods are to be unloaded in that particular port. So once he receives this, then the goods can be unloaded in that port. The last step in the import procedure is the customs clearance and the release of goods. So once the goods reach the port of destination, then the importer has to be very careful. So if he is not well versed with the formalities relating to the customs clearance, he can always appoint a C&F agent, that is C&F agent, clearing and forwarding agent. So who is well versed in the formalities relating to this imports. Now the importer has to receive a endorsement order or a delivery order from the shipping company. Now the exporter, once he loads the goods on board the ship, the shipping company will issue a bill of lading to the exporter, and next, when the goods reaches the port of destination of the importer, then the shipping company will issue an endorsement order or a delivery order to the importer. So, with the help of this delivery order, the importer can take delivery of the goods. Sometimes the endorsement will be given in the bill of lading itself. At the back of the bill of lading only, there will be an endorsement by the shipping company relating to the delivery of the goods, taking delivery of the goods. Now, the importer can take delivery of the goods, and then after paying the necessary freight charges to the shipping company. So, in case the exporter has not paid the freight charges, the importer has to pay the freight charges to the shipping company, and then he can take delivery of the goods. Now, once the goods have reached, he has unloaded the goods from the ship and the goods are in the dock, then he has to pay the dock fees to the dock authorities or the port trust authorities, whoever are there. They will issue a dock's receipt for the receipt of payment of the goods which are there in the dock. So after receiving this dock receipt, then the goods have to go forward for customs clearance. Now the customs authorities, they will have a physical examination of the goods which are imported, and then only after they are fully satisfied with whatever the goods are there, and then they will give their clearance, and later on the importer will have to pay the customs authorities fees, and then later on he can get a release of the goods. Now in this way, after clearing all the customs fees etc., he can take delivery of the goods, and then here the import procedure will be completed. The importer is also expected to fill in the bill of entry. So this bill of entry is a document which says that the goods are entering this port, and this bill of entry, after getting this bill of entry, the customer is supposed to go in for the customs clearance. Now once the custom authorities are fully clear about the quality or about the arrival of the goods, then they will just give the order for release of the goods, after which, after passing the release order, the importer can get the goods released from the customs authorities. So with this, we see that the import procedure has been completed. Then the next one is foreign trade promotion measures and schemes. So we all know that most of the countries, they are always encouraging exports and discouraging imports. So why there is an encouragement for exports? It is mainly because the exports give a favorable balance of trade for the country, whereas the imports give an unfavorable balance of trade for the country. So the higher the exports, the higher will be the currency rate. Higher will be the value of the currency in terms of foreign exchange rate. Now the first foreign trade promotion measure is the duty drawback scheme. Now, whenever the exporters are in manufacture of goods and all these goods are meant exclusively for exports, such goods should not be subject to any excise duty or customs duty. But in case if the goods are subject to a customs duty or excise duty, the exporter can get a refund on such duties. So, if he produces the proof that such goods are meant for exports only, then he can also get a refund or whatever the refund the government is giving for all the duties which is already paid by the exporter, that we call it as the duty drawback scheme. So, this duty drawback scheme can be exercised whenever the duty has been paid for any of the goods which are meant for exports, when any of the goods, the raw materials which are purchased for export of goods, on those also we can get the duty drawback scheme. And then last one is whenever any of the machinery has been imported for the purpose of exporting the goods, then such machinery also can be claimed. So, any customs duty paid for that machinery also can be claimed under this duty drawback scheme. So, in this way the government is supporting the exporters. Then second one is export manufacturing under bond scheme. Now, this is a kind of a bond scheme which is given by the government to the exporters. So, in case any of the exporters want to export the goods, then they can do so without paying any duties to the government. So, they have to work under this bond scheme only so that they can avail any of the benefits relating to the refund of the excise duties or any other duties which are to be paid to the government. Then the third one is exemption from payment of sales tax. So, whenever goods are to be exported to a foreign nation, such goods are not subjected to sales tax. So, they are exempted from payment of sales tax. So, if the goods are produced in the EOUs or 100% EOUs we call, so export oriented units, so whatever goods are manufactured in the export oriented units, they are not supposed to pay any sales tax on such goods. Then also goods which are manufactured under the SEZ, that is the special economic zones, and also the EPZ. So, export promoting zones. So, all those goods which are coming from these zones, they are fully exempt from sales tax. No sales tax is to be paid by the exporter. Then the next one is the advance license scheme. So, this advance license scheme is a license scheme which has been extended for the regular exporters and also the ad hoc exporters. So, in case the exporter wants to get a license for his exports, so he can always get an advance license export under which he can start exporting of the goods to the foreign countries. Even if he is an ad hoc exporter, that is not exporting on a regular basis also, he can avail the license under this scheme. Next kind of measure which is given by the Indian government is the Export Promotion Capital Goods Scheme. Now, what is this EPCG scheme? Now, this scheme is made exclusively for the importers who are importing capital goods from a different country. Suppose they are engaged in the manufacture of goods and they need a new machinery for the manufacture, the output of which will be for exports. Then such goods which are imported exclusively for the producing the export orders, so such goods can be availed under this scheme, wherein the importer need not pay any customs duties or excise duties on such capital goods. So, the machinery whatever he has ordered from another country, he can always purchase, he can always take it without paying any dock dues or without any customs duties or any other excise duties. So, this is done to see that there is lot of encouragement given for the exporters of the country. Then, this kind of EPCG scheme is available even for the manufacturers of the country who want to upgrade to a better machinery. So if they are getting a machinery from abroad, they can always avail this scheme and they can avail discounts relating to the payment of customs duty and the excise duties. Then the next one is scheme of recognizing export firms as export house, trading house and superstar trading house. Now, this is a scheme which is given by the Indian government, wherein the export firms which have done exceptionally well in the previous years, they will be given certain status like the export house or the trading house and the superstar trading house. So, based on the past performance and the value of the exports, and after conforming with all the formalities relating to the export of the goods, if the government is satisfied, it will confer such a status as the export house, trading house or the superstar trading house. Then the next one is the export of services. Now in this export of services also, the government has laid down certain rules for export of services, and depending on the type of the services that they are exporting, the government has given down certain star status to these services. The government of India has conferred the status of the export service house, international export service house and also international superstar export service house on certain exporters who are doing exceptionally well in the export business. With this, we come to the end of this session. Hope you have all understood what is the import procedure and also what are the various measures undertaken by the Indian government for the export promotion. Thank you.